When I first started drawing on shoes, I had no idea that it was something that would turn into a business idea. I was just scribbling art on shoes in a way that I thought reflected who I was. A lot of people connected with the work that I was doing, and over the course of many years, it grew into 8th generation. I usually don't have time to work on shoes or to do workshops with youth anymore, but it's a really important part of my story because it's the workshops that I was doing with youth around custom shoes that became the seed money for 8th generation launching into wool blankets. When I got the invite to go do a workshop with kids in Metlakatla, I got really excited because my past mentor, Julian, used to tell me stories about growing up in Metlakatla and the unique history of the island. Metlakatla is the only reservation in Alaska, and because of that, they've been able to maintain sovereignty during the course of their history. They maintain hunting and fishing rights. They've controlled who comes and goes from the island in ways that other places don't. In the schools in Metlakatla, the halls are filled with art done by students and past students, and you get a sense right away of how tightly intertwined the cultural art is with their lives. The idea of stepping foot on Metlakatla and seeing and feeling the things that Julian told me about, as well as meeting the people that are living there now, is very exciting to me. But I'm also a little intimidated because I know that they have amazing artists in Metlakatla, including David Robert Boxley, who's one of the artists that we've started to work with through 8th generation.
I love formline. So just putting together formline for fun, it tends to be how I like to work. There's too often a dumbing down of the art for the clients. And it doesn't do the art any justice. It's amazing. I think it's on us to bring them up to speed with what it can actually do and be.
I think the whole purpose of 8th generation is to look at where people are at and not accommodate where they're at, but let's push it forward a little bit.
Bring them along with us.
Yeah.
Come with us.
Yeah.
There's a thing First Alaskans Institute says up here is what's good for indigenous people is good for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful to be a part of this little group of you guys that are,
right on.
Trying to make a difference for us, us.
I always tell people, I said, there are a lot of experts out there who know all about Metlakatla, but they've never been here. And that's you need to come here and see for yourself, and you'll see the difference. The most interesting thing I hear about here is, in the real world, I'm like, I'm sorry, this is the real world, this is our world, and we create it. Not only does Metlakatla belong to us, it belongs to us, the whole island belongs to us, 3,000 feet off our waters belong to us, but this is our world, we created, this is a real world. And sometimes we connect to the outside, sometimes we're kind of really isolated in things that we do, but I think sometimes our own people think that we're way behind everyone else, and they don't realize that we're pushing the boundaries of a lot of things.
How many of you guys appreciate stories where Native people are working hard year after year after year and then finally achieving success? Definitely sounds like I'm in the right place. My name is Louie Gong. I'm a Nooksack tribal member. Nooksack is near Bellingham, about an hour and a half north of Seattle. You can tell that this is not a mansion. This is the house that I grew up in, raised by my grandma who was Native and my grandpa who was Chinese. Didn't have any running water. From this house, if you fast forward 40 years, I'm now the owner of the fastest growing privately owned Native company in the United States or Canada. And what I'm here to do is to tell you guys how I managed to do that. But I'll give you a hint before I start. It has nothing to do with what I did with these hands or the business moves that I made. It has to do with a lot of the work I did for here and I did for here. And I started on that work when I was your age. So the core of what I use on these is fabric dye markers, and that's because fabric dye doesn't fade like Sharpie does. So this will be almost like having a factory printed design on your shoe. But what we'll start off doing is by drawing on the templates that you have. And once you have a design concept nailed down, then we'll start to draw on the shoes. Then at some point, you're gonna be ready to start putting fabric dye on the shoes. And at that point, just check in with me. We'll make sure that you have it all planned out strategically, like which color are you using first? Don't forget to let that dry, and so on and so on. I just wanna make sure you have the best outcome possible. What I've learned over time is that there's this framework or like a decision-making process that I go through that helps me make really good decisions and think about the big picture, and I want to share it with you guys today. It's called eagle vision. So we know eagles have really great vision, right? You know, they're often soaring like 1,000 feet above, and if you have amazing, almost supernatural vision like an eagle, you can look into a bush a mile away and see a little rabbit twitch. So I imagine that when they look forward with that almost supernatural vision, it's almost like they could see ahead generations. And if an eagle is flying 1,000 feet above the ground and they look backwards, they can see backwards generations with equal clarity. So the idea of eagle vision is like soaring 1,000 feet above yourself when you're in a difficult moment and seeing yourself on a timeline. It's the same timeline that your grandparents are on, your great-grandparents are on. And that's really important because if you're experiencing a problem in your life and you look at it with eagle vision, all of a sudden you can see that relative to the problems already overcome by your ancestors, that problem is usually not that big. And conversely, when you get presented with an opportunity, you're in this moment facing a decision because of all the hard work of the people that came before you. And then all of a sudden, that opportunity is not so much a choice, but it's an obligation. So when you're presented with the opportunity, you better think hard about that, because opportunities aren't easy to come by.
The children in the community have been lucky to grow up with the culture that we have right now. That's all they know. But for someone from the outside to come in and teach them something new, I really appreciate that. And I think that they do too, just to get a taste of what else is out there.
I feel like the community has given me so much, and so it's like I want to give back to the community as much as I can. And hopefully I got that with helping bring you here, so.
It's been a great experience.
We tried to pack a lot into the couple days you were here, right?
You worked me pretty hard, but you also forced me to play pretty hard too.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't done this many activities for years.
Yeah.
My body's feeling it, but you know, so is my spirit, you know. So what's your favorite part of living in Metlakatla?
The scenery and how close everybody is. I love being able to just walk a block away, being able to take in the beautiful ocean. And everyone's so close here. Like, if you need help, you could just go knock on a door and you'll get help.
I'm alive!
Lots of energy.
Have you thought about doing art in the future?
More of a hobby, because sometimes I like to think, or I end up thinking that it might not always provide for me, so I like to keep that as a hobby.
Do you believe that because you see other artists around you that are trying, but it's really tough to make a living through art?
I feel like a long time ago, I learned that it's really important to not try to be expert when you're doing a workshop or speaking to any group of people. Creating change or helping people advance towards whatever their version of success is requires a lot of tiny little changes. And so my goal is always just to plant a seed that hopefully will grow into something that benefits the lives of the people that I'm connecting with. Over the course of my few days here, I've been able to let go of a lot of the expectations and preconceived ideas about who I am and what my value is, and just be Louie. That's something that I didn't pack over here in my suitcase, but I think it's definitely something that I'll be bringing home with me to Seattle. The cultural art of my community is really important to me. I want to show that what we're doing, the artwork that we're creating, our values, the way that we interact with our environment is not just valid or relevant to our own experience. The whole world needs it, and the whole world will appreciate it if we can get it to them. Next, please. This design is really special. Special because it's designed by a community member from right here in Metlakatla.